morning. Welcome to my living room. This is Cinderella, and this is my portion of the major group project. Our subject is epilepsy. Now, Simran has already told you what epilepsy is and how some treatments work and what causes it. I'm going to go into how it pertains to recreation and leisure. Now, with epilepsy and recreation and leisure, what we have to do is a risk assessment, and depending on the activities, then we will go from what is best for each client, because it is based on an individual, from an individual perspective, because we can't just do one huge thing for a group of people. Epilepsy affects everybody in different ways, so it's a person to person kind of a prescription where recreation and leisure are concerned. And depending on the types of seizure the person have and how the seizures are triggered. For recreation and leisure activities, a person needs to consider what risk the activity involves. For example, if you are sensory, sorry, I forgot the technical terminology for the type of seizure that is triggered by flashing lights. For that person, they couldn't do video games or online interaction with anything that is high graphic or high flow of the screen, the bright screens and the flashing lights. They can't do that. Some questions to ask when picking or choosing recreation activities are what your seizures are like, when your seizures happen, whether you get any warning signs before a seizure happens, what would help to make the activity safer for you and those around you. These are just these questions will guide you into the right directions to choose the right activity for you. Okay, now for the next slide, I'm sorry, I'm just going through the PowerPoint and just marking them off. The next slide is some activities that do not need any change to make them safer. Okay, let me back up a bit. So there are activities you can do in groups and teams that are safe, no matter what your condition is or what triggers your epilepsy. As long as you're not alone, then you can do pretty much anything. And then there are the persons who their seizures are controlled with medication. Those are known as lower risk persons. They have limited, maybe 1 or 2 seizures a year. Those are considered low risk. Most people with epilepsy live full lives. They are very active. They do whatever they want, as long as they're monitored. Again, this depends on the severity of your epileptic seizures, and how it affects you as an individual. Sorry, the epileptic seizure that I was thinking is the photosensitive seizures. Those are the ones with the flickering lights, and those are the ones that can't do video games and tournaments and online stuff. They have to be hands-on outdoors, or it's recommended that they be hands-on and outdoors in team sports or group activities. So I won't go into the types of seizures there are, because Simran has already done that and what causes them. The next one is counterindications. There are no counterindications for seizures for a group of persons with seizures, because as I said before, it's a client needs. The client needs are individual based, and they vary from person to person. There are no equipment nor specialized equipment required for epileptic persons. The only close monitoring is needed in the most severe cases. Seizure during activities such as swimming can be fatal, so these are areas where the monitoring is a must. There is no negotiating that. People who like to rock climb and do the high diving and the parasailing, these kind of extreme sports activities for persons with seizure is not really recommended. But again, you can't tell people how to live their lives. So at this point, we would have a tag team, a person, somebody there that in case of a seizure during a skydiving thing, somebody's there to pull the cord so you don't end up smashing into the ground. Yes, it's pretty graphic, but it's true. Best practices for persons with epileptic seizures are like it's pretty much the monitoring, stay away from alcohol and drugs, plenty of sleep, healthy balanced diet and not skipping meals, reduce stress and control anxiety, and be consistent with your medications. And these should all prevent or help control seizures. Because as Simran has stated, there is no cure. It's just pretty much maintaining and controlling the seizures. Some resources to help or provide information for epileptic seizures are adults living with epilepsy. There are support groups available, professionals living with epilepsies, partners of people with epilepsy, the Friday Recreation Group, that's a really good group. They have specialized groups that it's a group of people that get together on every Friday and they just randomly do a toss up and pick activities that everybody from a hat, from what I understand, and then everybody throws in what they would like to do today and then they pick, and whatever activity gets picked, that's what's done. There's also surgery support. These are for people that have had deep brain stimulation therapy to help control their epileptic seizures. There is peer support for kids. There is the Etobicoke support, but that doesn't apply to us. That's for individuals in Etobicoke. The Scarborough support rooms. There's Epilepsy Durham Association, and there's the Epilepsy Foundation. All these groups of people are dedicated to help with finding the cure for epilepsy, or at least finding out why the overactivity in the brain occurs, because the foundations fund research and provide advice and assistance to people and families living with epilepsy, as well as help with the filling out of forms to get funding from government or grants or school or they help in any way they can. So reach out to these resources and they will help you and provide ways on explaining on how to continue living a healthy, full life while living with epilepsy. Some recommendations for recreation and leisure activities are bowling, baseball, basketball, swimming with a partner. Things to avoid are, again, video games and online gaming, that kind of thing that are high triggered. For the Epilepsy Foundation and Epilepsy Durham are both nonprofit organizations. These are the organizations that we have reached out to during the course of this project. These are the foundations that have provided us with all the information we needed. Most of the photographs that are in the PowerPoint are taken from these foundation boards because they're the ones that give us permission to use them. They provide education, support, and assistance for epileptic patients, family members, and friends. Programming such as Living Well with Epilepsy teaches persons living, that teaches people, not only persons, but they go into the schools and they talk to kids who have friends or who are living with epilepsy, and they help to show them that there's no shame in it, because 99.9% of the time, according to the statistics on the Epileptic Foundation Board, after having a seizure and loss of consciousness, the body releases and urination occurs, and that's kind of an embarrassing thing for most of the persons who have had the epileptic seizures. So going into the schools and talking to the kids, that helps limit the bullying and the teasing, and it helps build the confidence of that child or preteen or even an adult, because it's not a fun thing to experience. And we're just gonna go by that and say special thanks to the National Institute for of Health for their and for sorry the National Institute of Health, in correlation with the National Institute of Neurological Disorder and Strokes, the Epilepsy Durham region, and the Epilepsy Foundation that of Canada. We would just like to say thank you for helping us and contributing to our project. There are no safety equipment involved. I think I went over that. Staffing for programs are mostly volunteers of families that are of volunteers and family members that are living with the disease. There is no specialized training. There are no certificates. It's pretty much CPR, basic first aid, where person is having seizures, you time them. If the seizure is longer than 4 seconds, then you call 911. If there is medication that you put under the tongue for that person, then you can put the medication on the family member can put the medication under the tongue to help limit that helps limit the damage done by seizures. The basic instructions is the recovery position, which is on the side, fetal, and support the head. So because of the spasms, you don't want the person hitting the head. Do not, and they cannot stress this enough, do not put anything in the person's mouth because of broken teeth. Just support the head and make sure that and time the seizures and call for 911. There was no. Okay, I think we went through activities, client needs, based person to person. There is no specialized way of dealing with persons living with epilepsy. We just need to trust and respect each other. And if we see somebody having an epileptic seizure, time the seizure, call 911, support the head, and put them in the recovery position. That's all. So on behalf of myself, Simran, and Jeremy, who is not in the video, sorry to say, due to technical difficulties, but did contribute, I would just like to say thank you for your time. And we hope you have learned a little bit about epilepsy and how to deal with if you're ever put in a situation where someone is having an epileptic seizure. Thank you very much and have a good day.